Hey, Rowan, 2 videos in one day. It's a bonus. Today is the Jewish Feast of Passover. It celebrates the Jews escaping from Egypt, where they were held in slavery about 1000 BC. So this is 3,000 years ago. They were held as slaves, and they escaped after several miracles where God punished the Egyptians for holding them in slavery. And they left on the 14th day of the month. Now, why is it the 14th day of the month? And notice that today isn't the 14th because it's the 14th day of the Jewish calendar. Now, the Jewish calendar runs on the new moon. So, as the moon rises, the phase changes. The new moon is where it's completely black, where we're seeing the dark side of the moon. Now, it takes 29 days, give or take, to complete a full month. So if you're 14 days into the month, then it's going to be a full moon. And if you're a runaway slave, the full moon is your friend. Because, the slave masters go to sleep, and you get up and you run. Because it's a full moon, you can run all night. And hopefully, you are long, long gone before anyone realizes that you had left. So, observant Jews have a feast every year they call a Seder that is representative of their flight from Egypt and the trials in the desert. And there's a whole bunch of different things that go into it. So first of all, there's a leafy green vegetable. It's called karpas. That's the Hebrew name for it. It represents hope. And there's maror, which is a bitter herb, which is usually they use horseradish for that. It doesn't taste very good, but it represents the suffering in the desert and the suffering under the slavery. There is Geroset, which is a mixture of fruits and honey and wine and cinnamon and spices, and it just is dessert, and it is so yummy. There's Matzah, which is, I'm probably saying these horribly wrong, but if someone can correct me, please do. Roasted egg, which symbolizes life and continuing on. And Zora, which is a lamb shank. So the traditional meal represents what the Israelites ate before they fled. So this is their last meal in Egypt, and it was a roasted lamb. So everyone got together and they roasted lambs. And the reason why they roasted the lamb was because that kind of cooks it, but it's still portable because, you can carry the roasted lamb. If you make a stew, then you can't really carry bowls of stew while you're running, though you can run with a lamb shank in your hand and go, take a big bite out of it. They also had matzah. And matzah is is probably the most important food for Passover. And matzah is unleavened bread. When you make bread, normally you take the flour, you take the water, you add in yeast. And the yeast feeds on a little bit of the flour, just like the fermentation video from way, way back. Feeds on the bit, it makes gas, and the gas makes the bread rise. There's other ways to make bread rise. There's chemicals like baking powder. You put baking powder into the bread, and it rises. There's some ways to make dough rise with salt. Well, matzah is not like that. Matzah does not rise. Matzah they work it intentionally to keep it from rising. So it's like a cracker. But because salt can be used to make bread rise, there is no salt. So it's this bland, dry cracker. But because they had to flee in the middle of the night, because they didn't have time for the bread to rise, matzah is the symbol of Passover. Passover is sometimes called the Feast of the Unleavened Bread. And Jews who are observant go through huge trouble. No yeast in the house. They clean the house, clean the cabinets, clean everything out. There are some people who go so far as to not drinking soda sweetened with corn syrup, because the corn syrup is bubbles, which is leavening, and corn is a grain. So, soda sweetened with corn syrup is technically bread, leavened bread. And it's funny. When I was little, I lived even up to high school, the area where we lived, there was a good Jewish population. And so the grocery stores carried a different type of Coke during the springtime when Passover was. That was specifically kosher for Passover because it didn't have the corn syrup. And my mom preferred that because it tasted different, because they use regular sugar, because regular sugar is made from beets, which is not grain, so regular sugar could be used. So there was matzah. That's matzah. But anyway, today's this Feast of Passover, where the Jews escaped from slavery, and they keep these traditions alive to remember where they came from and to remember how they've been blessed. So have a great day.